Sorry, everything two parts, but the first part is actually the same for honors and on level, so I didn't actually need to do two separate videos. So we'll do part one and part two. That way I save time. I'm not duplicating anything, and we're able to actually get it uploaded. So first up, move the constant. So negative 8r less than or equal to negative 80 divided by negative 8. R is greater than or equal to 10. So real quick, I said something and I didn't say it out loud. So we divided by a negative. So this right here, it flips. Okay. All right. So here, let me not have a bunch of papers so my marker doesn't bleed. All right. So R is greater than or equal to 10. So I'm going to get a cute marker. We'll go with purple. Okay, so greater than or equal to, that's a closed dot. And, oh, that doesn't look very purple. And then all the numbers greater than 10 are to the right. So 11, 12, 13, 14, those are all bigger. Let's get a better marker for the next one. All right, so next one's super similar. So I'm going to get rid of the minus 80 with a plus 80. Cancel. And I have 8x is less than or equal to 24. Divide by 8. X is less than or equal to 3. So what does that mean for us? I'm going to put a closed dot at 3. Not better. Keep trying for the colors. All right, and all the numbers less are 2, 1, 0, negative 1, so on. All right, so let's take a look at the next inequality. So for the next inequality, first step is combine like terms. So I have negative 13p less than or equal to 11 minus 2p. So I'm going to move the variable. I'm going to move this 2p over. You could have moved the 13p, but if you did, it would have been 0 on the left side. So plus 2p. So I get negative 11p is less than or equal to 11. Divide by negative 11. And p is greater than or equal to negative 1. And the reason why it is because this flips because we're dividing by this negative 11. If the number in front of your variable is negative, when you divide it, that's when you flip. All right, so let's take a look at the next one. So I can't distribute, can't combine like terms. So next step is move the variable. So I'm going to keep it on the left side. Doesn't matter. Probably one of the few steps, it doesn't matter which one you pick, you should get the same answer. So negative 1b plus 5, excuse me, is greater than or equal to negative 1. All right, next step is we're going to take away our constant. So I'm going to subtract 5 on both sides. Okay, whatever. I didn't need to put that. All right, so negative 1v is greater than or equal to negative 6. And then see how this is a negative 1v? It doesn't matter about my 6 over here. That doesn't matter. What matters is there's a negative 1 times my v. So when I divide by negative 1, this is going to flip. So I get v is less than or equal to 6. That would be my final answer. And let's try again with something that's not as crazy. So close dot at 6. Oh yeah, that looks much better. And then all the numbers less are to the left. And I feel like I'm probably rushing because I just realized I didn't graph this one. Close dot. And then all the numbers are greater than, so all the numbers to the right. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the next two. So this one has no distribution, but we do have combined like terms. So over here, 7 and 7, they cancel. And then I have 8x minus x. Where my highlighter go? I have 8x minus x. That gives me a positive 7x. And then over here, 8 minus 8 is 0, so they essentially cancel out, and I'm left with 5x. All right, so you might think like, oh, maybe this is like special. No. I have two variables. They are not the same. That means I will have a solution set, okay? So next up is move the variable. That's why it's super important to keep track of those don't call me after midnight, because yeah, it's going to be a mess. All right, if everything cancels, like cancel, we're left with nothing, and the number represents nothing is 0. So now I divide by 2. So x is less than or equal to 0. So I'm going to put a closed circle at 0. And then it's everything to the left. All right, so same thing over here, combine like terms. Going to combine these two, and I get 8v plus 2 greater than or equal to negative 7v plus 2. All right, so I'm going to move this 7v, and I get 15v plus 2 greater than or equal to 2. Okay, once again, if everything starts to cancel, right, because I'm going to move my constant, I had this canceled, then this cancel. Well, that just means you're left with 0. Okay, this doesn't mean no solution, doesn't mean any of that, right? Just pay attention and go slow. And then what's left on the left side is 15v, divide by 15, similar as before, you're going to be left with 0. Okay, so v is greater than or equal to 0. So closed out at 0, everything bigger. Okay, let me go ahead and go to the next page. All right, so we have distribution. So you're going to take your -5 and distribute. You're going to take everything on the left and rewrite it the same. -5 times 4 is -20. -5 times 3 is -15n. Okay, next step is move the variable. So I'm going to add 15n on both sides. That cancels. So I get 16 plus 9n is less than or equal to -20. So I'm going to subtract 16. And I get 9n is less than or equal to -36. So I divide by 9. And then I get n is less than or equal to -4. Because the 9 is a positive number, I don't flip it. Okay, sorry, ran out of room. It's a little squished, but we'll survive. All right, so n is less than or equal to -4. So close dot at -4. Less than is all the numbers to the left. All right, so let's take a look at the next one. So I have this negative that gets distributed. So I get -3x plus 8 is less than or equal to 8 minus 7x. Okay, next up, move the variable, so plus 7x. You get 4x plus 8 is less than or equal to 8. Once again, if you cancel everything, minus 8. 0, 0. You get 4x is less than or equal to 0. Because these canceled, the 8 canceled, and then now I'm just left with this. So when I divide by 4, I get x is less than or equal to 0. That's my final answer. Oops, going off the page. That's my final answer. And then on the actual graph, I'm going to put a closed dot at 0. And then everything to the left is part of the solution set. All right, next up is the combinations one. So I'm going to take, let me find a different pen. Let's do orange, I don't know. All right, so let's take a look at this one. So I'm going to take my -3 and it's going to distribute to everything inside of that parentheses. So you get -6x minus 9x minus 24 is greater than -24 plus 3x. So I'm going to combine my like terms and I get -15x minus 24 is greater than -24 plus 3x. So I'm going to move the variable. I'm going to take away 3x on both sides. That cancels. -18x minus 24 is greater than -24. So I'm going to add 24 to cancel out the variable by the x. Cancel, cancel. I'm left with 0. Negative 18x. Whoa. I'm running out of space. Hold on. We'll go up here. Negative 18x is greater than 0. Okay. I'm going to divide by negative 18. Now, I know it doesn't change the value of 0, but because I'm dividing by a negative number, right? This doesn't change whether or not it's the value, but this does flip. So you get x is less than 0. All right, and then when you put on your graph, it's going to be an open circle at 0. And it's less than, so all the numbers to the left. All right, so let's take a look at the next one. So we have negative 8. That distributes. So you get negative 64a minus 56 plus a is greater than 8 plus a. Okay, after distribution, the next step is combine like terms. So negative 64 plus a is going to give you negative 63a minus 56 greater than 8 plus a. All right, next step is to move the variable. So I'm going to subtract 1a from both sides. That cancels on the right. So you get negative 64a minus 56 greater than 8. All right, next up is going to add 56. I get negative 64a is greater than 64. Divide by negative 64. A is less than negative 1. Oops, that kind of ran off the page. But it's A is less than negative 1. And then when it comes to graphing, we're going to do an open circle at negative 1. And it's less than. So it's all the numbers to the left. All right, so another problem with distribution. So we're going to take our 3 and distribute that. So we have 3n plus 6, and then this stays the same. This is a negative. We could treat it as a negative 1. That distributes. So you have negative 1n plus 3 minus 1. All right, so next up is combine like terms. I'm going to kind of color code these. So I'm going to have 3n minus 4n, and that's going to give me negative 1n. I'm going to have 6 minus 4. That's going to give me a positive 2, so I put plus 2. Okay, and then less than or equal to. And then my negative 1n stays the same, so there's nothing to combine right here, so just negative 1n. And then the last part is I have 3 minus 1. So 3 minus 1 is a positive 2, so I put plus 2. All right, so next up is move the variable. So I'm going to take away the 1n, so I do plus 1n. Cancel, cancel. So I'm left with 2 is greater than or equal to 2. So this is a true statement. 2 is greater than or equal to 2. So my answer is all real numbers. So to graph all real numbers, you're just going to go over the entire number line. Okay, so for the next one, I'm going to take my 4 and distribute it, and then take the negative 4 and distribute it. So I get 4 minus, it should be 4x. Close enough. Okay, plus 12 is greater than negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Negative 4 times negative 4 is a positive 16, so I indicate that with a plus. Okay? Positive number plus, negative number minus. All right, next is combine like terms. So I have 4 plus 12. That gives me negative 4x plus 16 is greater than negative 4x plus 16. Next up is to move the variable. They're the same, so they both cancel. So 16 greater than 16. This is false because those are equal. This is not greater than this. If there's a line underneath like this one, then it'd be true. But this one's false, so it's no solution. And then you just leave the number line blank. All right, last page is the page for the word problems. All right, so I'm not going to read the whole problem out loud for the sake of time. You can read it to yourself, so you could pause and read it to yourself. But essentially what you want to do is get the cost of bike A to equal the cost of bike B. Okay, so the cost of bike A is 25 per month, so 25x, that's my variables per month, and then a flat 500, so that's my constant. And then I have 50x, and then because that's for 50 per month for bike B, that's my variable. And my constant is a flat 200. Okay, so now I just solve. So I'm just gonna move my variable over here. Doesn't matter which one you pick. And then on the side of the variable, you remove the constant. So I'm gonna remove my plus 200 with a minus 200. And then you get 300 equals 25x, divide by 25, and then you get x is equal to 12 months. All right, so the next one, we want Alice to equal Alma. So completed 3 pages for Alice, which means we have a flat 3. And then per hour is your variable. Alma has completed a flat 11 pages, and then she does 3 per hour, so that's the variable. Okay, so first step is move the variable, so minus 3x. You get 3 plus 4x equals 11, so minus 3. You get 4x equals 8, divide by 4, x is equal to 2. And then 2 would be 2 hours. All right, so this one's cutting 2 pounds a week, which means you're losing 2 pounds. So you need your current minus, whatever you're losing per week. And that should be less than your goal weight. Right? It says less than 175 pounds. So his current weight is 200. He's losing 2 pounds a week, so that's minus 2, right? If he's gaining, then he's plus 2, but he's losing per week. And then that is less than 175, so he needs to be less than 175. That's the goal weight. Okay, so I'm going to take away 200, and I'm taking away 200 because it's on the side of the variable. Divide by negative 2. X is greater than, because this flips, 12.5. So more than 12.5 weeks. You wouldn't say at least because at least means you could equal, but it needs to be less than 175 to equal 175 or less. But it specifies as just less than. Okay, so for this last one, we want the cost of the membership to be less than the cost of a non-member. Okay, to be cheaper, it has to be less. Okay, we're not asking for break even; it has to be less to be a member. Okay, so the cost of being a member is 2 for every time plus a flat 135, and then just to be a non-member is 11 per time. So I'm going to move the variable. And then I'm going to divide by the coefficient. Whoa, running out of space. Okay. And then so divide by 9, and I get 15 is less than x. So it's 15 to break even. So it has to be more than 15 times. All right, that's the end of the review. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you get an A++ on your test.